In February 2019, Niger Parks was accused of shoplifting and trying to hit a police officer with a car at a Hampton Inn in Woodbridge, New Jersey. The police had identified him using a facial recognition software, even though he was 30 miles away at the time of the incident at a Western Union sending money to his fiancée.
I'm like, yo, I didn't do this. That's not me. He's like, everybody's in here said he's innocent. Like, you got to prove that you're innocent. But I shouldn't have to prove that I'm innocent. You should have to prove that I'm guilty.
Facial recognition is everywhere. It is on our phones, it is in public places, private properties. Even Taylor Swift used it at her concert to prevent stalkers. The question I'm asking is facial recognition worth it? First, let's break down how facial recognition works. First, how it works in humans. I look at someone, I see their facial features and store them in my brain. Now let's look at how computers do it. A camera captures data, an algorithm maps out the face, and stores it in its memory. Pretty straightforward. There are multiple companies that are working on further developing facial recognition algorithms, to cameras, to integrating whole systems. Some examples are NEC, Hikvision, Clearview AI, and more. Remember the names I just said. Now let's look at some history. The father of facial recognition is Woodrow Wilson Bledsoe. Working in the 1960s, Bledsoe developed a system that could classify photos of faces by hand using a RAND tablet, a device that people could use to input horizontal and vertical coordinates on a grid using a stylus that emitted electromagnetic pulses. The system could be used to manually record coordinates of facial features like the eyes, the nose, the hairline, and the mouth. Then a database was created and filled with all the details. Then when the system was shown a photo of the person, it brought up other photos of the same person. So this technology has been around for quite some time now. Fast forward to 2021, there are companies at work on developing facial recognition. Now I want to focus on some bigger issues. Let's focus on law enforcement's using facial recognition. Mr. Park said that he was arrested using Clearview AI. The algorithm had made a mistake in recognizing the face that was on a fake driver's license of the real culprit. And Mr. Parks had to spend 10 nights in jail, and his case was dropped after a year. And this was just one case. There have also been 2 more cases. The other 2 are Robert Julian Borchak along with Michael Oliver. Both of them black men accused by an AI system. Cities like San Francisco and Boston have banned facial recognition because of the privacy risk and false positives. But there are also cities and states that use facial recognition to catch criminals. One of the cities is Surat in India. The Surat police uses facial recognition to track criminals on when they enter the city, when they leave the city, and the whereabouts of suspects. I got the opportunity to interview Moen Sheikh, the man who integrated the whole system for the Surat Police Department. The AI system that the police use is developed by NEC. Then there is a criminal database that has the faces of criminals using their photo IDs. There are cameras all over the city that track the movement of criminals. The cameras are at railway stations, highways, bus stops, and at traffic zones. Then every time the algorithm catches or finds a person, it gives a percentage match to the user, and the user decides whether they are the right person or not. So first, they bring the person into the nearest police station. They check their ID, and if they are the criminal, then they're punished. If not, they're released. In this interaction, one aspect I touched upon was privacy. How do we know that the people's privacy is not being violated? To answer that, the only people who can see the data is the Surat police. No one else can. And the way that the data is secured is through having the system not connected to the internet at all. Intuitively, how do we know that the Surat police is not misusing the system? Well, there are 2 answers to that. Data cannot be taken out of the system. So the Surat police cannot target certain people that they have a personal agenda against. And the bigger reason is that Surat police just does not have enough manpower to abuse this technology.
The algorithm is very, very powerful here, and it is irrespective of race, it recognizes the people. Even if the criminals change their facial aspects, or even if they go for plastic surgery, still the system can identify them.
The big statistic is that crime in 2015 fell by 27%. Now, this is all good use, and some technologies are better when it comes to tracking faces compared to others. But there's more to this, and not necessarily great. It's the Chinese government having surveillance over the Uyghurs. Uyghurs are a Chinese Muslim minority who live mostly in the state of Xinjiang. The government has turned Kashgar city into a prison. The city is filled with surveillance cameras everywhere, monitoring the activities of Uyghurs. Plus, the government also calls them backwards and obstacles to progress. The minority group is treated as a danger to state security. An article from The Conversation quotes, "This is even if moderate voices calling for improvements in health, education, and employment." The Uyghurs are of Turkic culture and Muslim faith. They have called for self-rule, so they had an anti-Chinese riot in Urkmi, the capital of Xinjiang. Hikvision, the name I said earlier, has received contracts in Xinjiang worth at least $290 million for its cameras and facial recognition systems. Another company who is into increasing security is Huawei. Yes, the company that makes smartphones and is banned in the United States. At the heart of it, the government wants to scare people. It's to make Uyghurs live in fear that whatever you do, the government is watching you.
The intimidation works. We visited one of the few mosques in the city that remain open, the famed Idka Mosque. Only a few dozen men came for the main prayers on a Friday, the main Islamic day of worship. A few years ago, thousands of worshippers gathered.
In November 2019, you may have heard that the Chinese government is holding mass detention camps for these Chinese Muslims. And children who were in Hong Kong who were planning to return to the West to meet their parents for their summer break received a letter stating that their parents had been sent to re-education camps, and students were warned that their behavior could shorten or extend the detention of their relatives. It's like, if you do anything suspicious, the government will put you in detention camps, where the government is really trying to make the Uyghurs give up their religion. Furthermore, women are forced into having less children. I may have gone a little off topic here. However, the way facial recognition is being used has a large impact. An impact on parents who are separated from their children, forced into giving up their faith. It's an emotional stress, and it's mentally breaking them. Something I would like to point out is that the way facial recognition systems operate in Xinjiang and Surat are very similar. And yes, both of them use different softwares, but the surveillance is pretty much the same. No one wants to be seen by so many cameras, and anyone and every person would get scared by seeing and being surveilled by so many cameras. Throughout this video, I have spoken very lightly upon the aspect of privacy. And to be straight, we lose our privacy when we give our facial data to any system. If you look at iPhones, it asks for our consent, and we give our facial data to the phone so that it unlocks our phone. Then there are companies like Amazon.
Ms. Bulamwini, right now, Amazon can scan your face without your consent, all of our faces without our consent, and sell it to the government, all without our knowledge, correct?
Yes.
Large companies are selling our facial data to the government without our consent. And when personal businesses use the system to avoid robbery or just increase public safety, this too completely violates the privacy of every person who passes through the camera's view. It's like there's no time to ask for consent. This can further lead to issues in cybersecurity, but I'll address that at the end. Now I want to focus on two things. There's also been the case of hacking Face ID. However, it is not a thing to be really worried about, as it requires specially made glasses along with the person sleeping. It is made by Tencent. The researchers discovered that the Face ID liveliness process wouldn't fully extract 3D data from the area around the eye if it recognizes the owner is wearing glasses. Instead, it looks for the black area for the eye with a white point upon it for the iris. So, the researchers created a pair of spectacles with white tape covered by black tape in the center. A hole in the black tape was for allowing the white point to be visible to Face ID. This was enough to fool the Face ID and unlock the iPhone. However, this does require the person to be sleeping or unconscious. And who wouldn't wake up when you're stuffing a pair of specs on their face? So, most likely your data is safe. The next part is about protecting yourself online from facial recognition algorithms. It's called cloaking your photos, and the tool is Fox. It's an AI privacy tool to make your photos look a little less like you, but same enough for everyone to know that it is you. To quote The Verge's article, running Fox on your photos is like adding an invisible mask to your selfies. It is preventing facial recognition algorithms from getting to your face, and the software is available for free and for everyone to use. The best way I can describe facial recognition system is like playing peekaboo with a baby. The moment you cover your face, both of them are absolutely perplexed on where did you go? And the moment you show your face, the algorithm and the baby recognize you, and they go, aha! Facial recognition is not going anywhere. Experts around the world say that facial recognition should be banned. And in the big picture, my evidence points towards banning facial recognition. And it's not because there's anything wrong with the technology or the system, but because there is the potential of misuse by our own authorities. Facial recognition is a system that has a lot of power for which our authorities need to have the same sense of responsibility. And how responsible are our changing governments? Plus, I haven't dived into the whole aspect of cybersecurity. That is a whole nother conversation we need to have because of the vastness of it. We know that Surat is one of the cities that has its data secured by having all the data offline. But there are certain companies that specialize in breaking into servers to access data. So Amazon or any server that is connected to the internet is at risk of having its data stolen and putting millions of people's data at risk. By adding facial recognition to online servers, there's a huge risk that we can't even fathom. Now, one might say that, Jamin, that's the worst case scenario. To that I say, why entertain the possibility in the first place? What has us wait for the worst? People are already being falsely arrested and our privacy is totally violated. It's infuriating to have people's lives and data being abused along with their loved ones. To have this technology banned, call your local official and request them to pass a bill banning facial recognition in your city. I would like to thank my family and my professor for guiding me through this process of research and filming. I truly would not have been able to do it without you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.